Today I speak of restraint, of discipline, of choosing the higher path, because a man who squanders his strength on fleeting pleasure loses more than energy. He loses focus, drive, and the will to conquer his own destiny. A man's greatest battle is not against the world but against himself. The ability to govern one's desires is the mark of true strength, while the inability to do so leads only to weakness and regret. Every man feels the pull of pleasure, the instinct to indulge, the craving to surrender to the body's impulses. But to give in without question is to live as a servant to those desires rather than as their master. To be in control, to restrain oneself, to rise above the momentary urge. This is the path of the strong. The undisciplined man may argue, but it is natural, why fight against what the body demands? Yet what is natural is not always what is best. Hunger is natural, but does a man feast endlessly without consequence? Anger is natural, but does a man allow it to control his actions without thought? A wild beast follows instinct alone. A man, however, possesses reason, wisdom, and the power to choose. The question is not whether an urge exists, but whether one allows it to rule his life. Every time one gives in to an impulse without resistance, he weakens the fortress of his own mind. A habit is formed, a pattern reinforced, making it even easier to surrender the next time. The man who wastes his energy on fleeting pleasure soon finds himself robbed of something far more valuable: his discipline, his focus, and his ability to strive for higher things. He wonders why his motivation fades, why his ambitions feel distant, why his confidence is eroded. The answer is simple. He has allowed himself to become ruled by his lowest instincts. True mastery is not in avoiding desire, but in controlling it. The disciplined man does not seek to destroy his natural urges, he seeks to wield them as a source of power. Energy that is conserved and redirected fuels greatness. It sharpens the mind, strengthens the body, and gives clarity to one's purpose. The man who governs himself stands apart, for he is not easily shaken, not easily distracted, not easily tempted away from the path he has chosen. He becomes the type of man others admire, for he carries himself with an air of control, confidence, and quiet strength. It is a mistake to believe that discipline is suffering. To restrain oneself is not a punishment, it is an investment. The weak man sees restraint as a loss, but the wise man understands that it is a gain. By choosing control, he gains sharper focus. By delaying gratification, he gains greater fulfillment. By refusing to be ruled by pleasure, he gains mastery over his own destiny. The fleeting joy of indulgence cannot compare to the lasting satisfaction of self-discipline. Some will mock this idea. They will say, "What harm is there in a little pleasure? What difference does it make?" But let them look at the lives of those who indulge freely. Are they men of strength, of purpose, of great achievement, or are they restless, unfocused, and trapped in cycles of fleeting satisfaction and regret? The answer is evident. No great man was ever forged in the fires of self-indulgence. Greatness is born of restraint, of effort, of the ability to choose the harder path when it leads to something greater. A man who controls his desires does not lose joy, he gains a deeper one. He is not deprived, he is empowered. When he walks with purpose. When he speaks, his words carry weight. When he acts, his actions shape the world. He does not stumble through life, pulled in every direction by his impulses, but moves forward with clear intention, undistracted, unwavering. The body will always seek comfort, always demand satisfaction, always call for indulgence. But a man is more than a body. He is mind, will, and spirit. He must choose which side of himself he will nurture and which he will allow to take control. The man who chooses mastery will stand above the rest, unshaken by temptation, unbroken by desire. He will be free, not a slave to pleasure but a master of himself. Every action a man takes has a cost. Nothing is free, not even pleasure. What seems like a harmless indulgence, a fleeting moment of satisfaction, often comes with a hidden price, and that price is paid in ways most never realize until it is too late. energy, focus, ambition. These are the currencies of a man's strength, and they are depleted with every act of self-indulgence. Consider the man who constantly gives in to his urges, who seeks pleasure without thought. He believes he is simply enjoying life, that no harm is done. But over time something changes. He becomes sluggish, his motivation fades, his mind once sharp grows dull. His body once full of vitality feels drained. He wonders why he lacks the drive to push forward, why his goals seem distant and unattainable. He looks around and sees others with fire in their eyes, men who are disciplined, ambitious, unshaken. He wonders why he is not like them. The answer is simple. He has traded his strength for momentary pleasure, time and time again, until little remains. A man must ask himself, is the momentary pleasure worth the long-term cost? Is the brief high of indulgence worth the loss of focus, the loss of ambition, the loss of control? Most do not ask these questions. They act without thinking, seeking immediate gratification without considering the consequences. But every time they give in, they reinforce a habit of weakness. The body learns to crave comfort over challenge, ease over effort, pleasure over progress. And once this habit is formed, it is difficult to break. Men who waste their energy on indulgence often find themselves caught in cycles of dissatisfaction. The pleasure they seek is never enough. Once it fades, they are left feeling empty, restless, and craving more. So they repeat the act, seeking to fill a void that only grows larger with each indulgence. But no matter how many times they satisfy the urge, they are never truly satisfied. Their strength continues to drain away, and with it their ability to take control of their own lives. The cost of indulgence is not just physical, it is mental, emotional, and spiritual. It weakens discipline, making it harder to resist future temptations. It dulls the mind, making it harder to focus on meaningful work. It erodes confidence, leaving a man feeling powerless and ashamed of his own lack of control. It fosters regret as he looks back and realizes how much time and potential he has wasted. Contrast this with the man who chooses restraint. He too feels the pull of desire, but he understands the cost. He does not act on impulse. He considers the long-term effects of his choices. He knows that by preserving his energy, by maintaining control, he strengthens himself. His focus remains sharp, his ambition strong, his will unbroken. He moves through life with a sense of purpose, unaffected by the distractions that pull others away from their path. This is the difference between the man who controls himself and the man who does not. One builds himself up, while the other slowly tears himself down. One preserves his power, while the other wastes it. One walks forward with determination, while the other stumbles in circles, never making progress. The world is full of men who have thrown away their potential in pursuit of fleeting pleasure. They wonder why they feel lost, why they lack motivation, why they are unable to achieve their goals. But the answer is right in front of them. The cost of indulgence has been paid, and the price was their own strength. To live with purpose, to achieve greatness, to stand above the rest. This requires discipline. It requires an understanding that pleasure is not always harmless, that every action has a consequence, that nothing is truly free. A man must decide whether he will be ruled by his desires or whether he will rule over them. He must ask himself whether the temporary satisfaction of indulgence is worth the long-term sacrifice of his own power. For the man who values his strength, who seeks to build himself into something greater, the answer is clear. He does not waste himself on momentary pleasure. He does not pay the hidden cost of indulgence. Instead, he preserves his energy, sharpens his focus, and moves forward with unwavering discipline. And in doing so, he rises above those who remain trapped in the cycle of their own weakness. There is a force within every man, raw, powerful, and full of potential. It is not just a biological function, it is a source of energy, a reservoir of strength that fuels the body, sharpens the mind, and fortifies the spirit. To waste this energy is to throw away the very essence of what makes a man capable, driven, and disciplined. but to retain it, to harness it, is to unlock a level of power that few will ever understand. A man who guards his energy does not simply avoid weakness, he builds strength. His mind becomes clearer, his body more resilient, his willpower unshaken. He does not live in a haze of exhaustion and distraction, but moves with purpose, fully aware of his direction. When he speaks, his words carry weight. When he acts, his actions are decisive. He is not scattered, not restless, not drained by overindulgence. He is centered, controlled, and focused. Men who waste their energy frequently may not even realize the toll it takes on them. They assume it is harmless, that it has no real effect beyond the moment. Yet, when they compare themselves to men of discipline, to men who practice restraint, they notice a difference. The disciplined man possesses an intensity, a focus, a confidence that is not easily shaken. He walks with certainty, his eyes steady, his mind sharp. He does not struggle with the distractions that pull others away from their purpose, because he has fortified himself against them. Energy, when preserved, fuels ambition. It fuels creativity. It fuels the drive to build, to achieve, to conquer. The greatest minds, the greatest warriors, the greatest thinkers, these were men who did not waste their strength on fleeting pleasure. They understood that their energy was a resource, and like any resource, it had to be managed wisely. A man who spends all his gold on meaningless trinkets finds himself poor when the time comes to invest in something greater. So too does the man who carelessly depletes his energy find himself lacking when he needs it most. Retention does not mean repression. It does not mean denying one's nature or living in discomfort. It means discipline. It means understanding that strength is something to be cultivated, not squandered. It means using that energy to sharpen the body, to expand the mind, to deepen the soul. A man who keeps his energy within him notices changes. His confidence grows, his ability to focus increases, his motivation to achieve strengthens. He no longer feels scattered or easily swayed by distractions. He becomes the master of himself. Some will argue that discipline is unnecessary, that pleasure is meant to be enjoyed freely. But look at the difference between the man who indulges without restraint and the man who channels his energy wisely. One is weak, constantly searching for something to fill the void he has created. The other is strong, standing firm in his purpose, unshaken by impulse. One wastes his potential while the other refines it. One drifts through life while the other moves forward with force and direction. A disciplined man does not allow himself to be ruled by momentary cravings. He sees beyond them. He understands that his energy is better spent on building himself, on sharpening his skills, on achieving his goals. He does not surrender to fleeting pleasure because he knows that the satisfaction of discipline far outweighs the temporary relief of indulgence. The weak man seeks pleasure and finds emptiness. The strong man seeks mastery and finds fulfillment. Energy, when preserved, gives a man an undeniable presence. He is not weighed down by his own lack of control. He is not constantly chasing the next high, the next distraction, the next escape. Instead, he stands firm, rooted in discipline, moving forward with purpose. He knows that every ounce of energy he keeps within him is fuel for something greater. It is fuel for success, for power, for the ability to shape his own destiny. A man who understands the power of retention understands the power of himself. He is not at the mercy of his urges. He does not waste what is valuable. He directs his energy toward building something that lasts, his mind, his body, his character. And in doing so, he sets himself apart from the masses, rising above those who have yet to realize the strength that lies within them. A man who allows himself to be ruled by impulse is like a ship without a rudder, tossed by the waves, moving in no clear direction, vulnerable to every storm. He reacts instead of acts, following whatever fleeting desire arises in the moment. But a man who controls himself, who steadies his mind against the pull of temporary pleasures, becomes unshaken. He does not chase after things that bring only brief satisfaction. He builds a foundation of discipline that makes him strong in all aspects of life, Instant gratification is the great thief of progress. It promises pleasure but delivers weakness. It tempts a man with ease and comfort, yet robs him of his drive and ambition. When a man surrenders to every urge, he trains himself to seek pleasure first and discipline last. His emotions become unstable, swayed by every high and low. His mind becomes restless, unable to focus on anything that requires patience and effort. Over time, he becomes reactive rather than proactive, controlled by forces outside of himself rather than by his own will. The ability to delay gratification is the foundation of all great achievement. No man builds something meaningful by indulging every whim. A warrior does not become strong by avoiding struggle. A scholar does not become wise by choosing distraction over discipline. A leader does not rise by allowing himself to be ruled by impulse. Strength, wisdom, and success belong to those who can resist the pull of immediate pleasure in favor of long-term mastery. Many men mistake indulgence for freedom. They believe that by giving in to their desires, they are enjoying life to the fullest. But this is an illusion. The man who is controlled by his urges is not free, he is enslaved. He cannot focus, cannot work with intensity, cannot stay on the path toward his goals because he is constantly being pulled in different directions by his own lack of control. True freedom comes from discipline, from the ability to say no to what weakens you and yes to what strengthens you. When a man is ruled by impulse, his emotions fluctuate while he feels powerful one moment, drained the next. He is confident when he gives in to pleasure, but filled with regret once it fades. His self-respect diminishes because deep down he knows he is not in control. His potential is wasted not because he lacks ability, but because he lacks mastery over himself. In contrast, the man who remains steady, who controls his desires instead of being controlled by them, develops an unshakable foundation. His emotions do not dictate his actions. His mind is not cluttered with distraction. His confidence comes not from temporary pleasure but from the knowledge that he commands himself. The man who practices restraint does not suffer. He thrives. He does not wake up drained, scattered, or full of regret. He rises with energy, clarity, and purpose. His mind is sharp because he has not dulled it with excess. His body is strong because he has not weakened it with indulgence. His spirit is at peace because he knows he has control over himself. He moves with quiet confidence, unaffected by the distractions that consume others. He is not easily tempted, not easily thrown off course. He has trained himself to see past the immediate moment, to think beyond temporary pleasure, to invest in his own growth rather than squander his strength. The world is full of men who are ruled by their impulses, but it is the few who master themselves that rise above the rest. They are the ones who create, who build, who achieve, while others remain stuck in cycles of weakness and regret. The difference is not intelligence, talent, or luck. It is discipline. It is the ability to say no when every part of them craves the easy path. It is the ability to resist the temptation of short-term comfort in favor of long-term greatness. Every man has a choice. He can be like the masses, chasing momentary pleasure, weakened by his own lack of control. Or he can rise above, choosing strength over indulgence, discipline over distraction, mastery over impulse. One path leads to mediocrity, regret, and unfulfilled potential. The other leads to power, purpose, and self-respect. The choice is his alone. There is a fundamental truth that separates those who achieve greatness from those who remain stagnant. Energy must be directed towards something meaningful. The man who disciplines himself and harnesses his inner power can accomplish extraordinary things, while the man who squanders his energy on fleeting pleasures finds himself drained, unmotivated, and lost. The greatest works in history were not created by men who indulged in every desire, but by those who channeled their energy into something greater than themselves. A man's potential is vast, but it is limited by how he chooses to use his energy. Some men spend their days chasing momentary satisfaction, engaging in habits that provide no lasting value. They wonder why they feel unfulfilled, why they struggle to focus, why they lack the drive to pursue their ambition. The answer is simple. They have wasted the very fuel that powers creativity, determination, and strength. Energy spent on mindless indulgence is energy lost. Energy that could have been used to build something meaningful. When a man controls his urges and redirects his energy, his mind becomes sharper, his thoughts are clearer, his ability to concentrate deepens, and his creative power flourishes. He finds himself able to work with greater intensity, to push through challenges that once seemed impossible. His ambition, once clouded by distractions, becomes a burning force that propels him forward. The energy he once wasted is now the foundation upon which he builds his success. This is why history remembers disciplined men. The greatest artists, thinkers, warriors, and leaders all possessed the ability to control themselves, to channel their desires into their craft, their work, and their vision. They understood that every drop of energy spent on meaningless pleasure was energy that could have been used to sharpen their skills, expand their knowledge, or strengthen their bodies. They recognized that to create something lasting, one must first master himself. A man's energy is not just physical, it is mental and spiritual as well. It is the force that drives him to wake up early and work toward his goals. It is the fire that pushes him to train his body, to sharpen his intellect, to pursue excellence in all areas of life. When this energy is preserved and directed, it becomes a force of nature, unstoppable, relentless, and powerful. But when it is wasted, it leaves a man feeling sluggish, unmotivated, and weak. Some men say they lack inspiration, that they cannot find the motivation to pursue their dreams. But it is not motivation they lack. It is discipline. It is the ability to resist the temptations that drain them, to redirect their energy toward what truly matters. When a man stops wasting himself on things that bring no value, he finds that motivation is no longer an issue. His fire returns, his ambition grows, and his drive to create something great becomes unstoppable. The modern world is designed to steal a man's focus, to lure him into a cycle of endless distraction and indulgence. But those who resist, those who guard their energy and use it wisely, will stand apart. While others waste their days in meaningless pursuits, the disciplined man builds, creates, and ascends. He does not seek comfort, he seeks mastery. He does not chase fleeting pleasure, he pursues purpose. This is not about deprivation, but about elevation. It is about taking the energy that so many waste and using it to carve out a path of greatness. It is about choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term indulgence, about valuing self-mastery over self-indulgence. It is about recognizing that true strength does not come from giving in to every desire, but from having the power to control and direct them. A man who harnesses his energy becomes a force to be reckoned with. His presence commands respect, his mind is sharp, his body strong, and his spirit unbreakable. He does not drift through life. He moves with purpose, intent, and focus. He does not waste his time. He builds something meaningful with every moment he has. The choice is always there. Waste your energy on things that weaken you, or channel it into something that makes you stronger. Those who choose the latter will rise above the rest, unshaken, unstoppable, and truly alive. A man's strength is not measured by his ability to give in to his desires, but by his ability to master them. The world is full of distractions, temptations, and empty pleasures that pull men away from their true potential. Those who indulge without restraint find themselves lost, weakened, and without purpose. But the man who practices discipline, who controls himself and directs his energy towards something meaningful, becomes powerful. He walks with certainty, speaks with authority, and moves through life with a sense of purpose that others can only admire. When a man guards his energy, he gains something that cannot be bought or faked: an undeniable presence. This presence is not about arrogance or outward displays of power. It is the quiet strength that radiates from within. It is the confidence of a man who knows he is in control of himself, who is not swayed by impulse or distraction. He does not waste his time on fleeting pleasures, and as a result he possesses a focus, a drive, and a self-assurance that commands respect. The weak man, by contrast, is restless. He is constantly searching for something to fill the emptiness he has created by wasting his energy on temporary satisfaction. He lacks discipline, and because of this, he lacks confidence. His emotions are unstable, his mind scattered, his actions uncertain. When he speaks, his words carry little weight because they are not backed by true strength. He is easily influenced, easily distracted, and easily broken. But the disciplined man stands apart. His presence alone is enough to change the energy of a room. When he walks in, people notice, not because he demands attention, but because he carries himself with a quiet power that is impossible to ignore. He does not need to prove himself with loud words or empty gestures. His self-control speaks for itself. Others recognize his strength, not because he boasts of it, but because it is evident in everything he does. This strength extends beyond physical presence. It influences how a man thinks, how he makes decisions, and how he interacts with the world. A man who controls himself does not react emotionally to every situation. He remains calm under pressure, unmoved by petty concerns, and focused on what truly matters. His mind is clear because it is not clouded by regret, distraction, or wasted energy. He does not chase after things that drain him. Confidence is not something that can be faked. It is not built on external validation or fleeting pleasures. True confidence comes from discipline, from the knowledge that one is in control of himself. A man who gives in to every temptation weakens his own belief in himself. He knows deep down that he lacks the strength to resist, and this eats away at his self-respect. But the man who practices restraint gains an unshakable confidence. He trusts himself because he has proven to himself that he is in command of his own actions. Some men wonder why they feel uncertain, why they doubt themselves, why they lack motivation. The answer is simple. They have allowed their energy to be drained by things that do not serve them. They have given away their strength in exchange for temporary pleasure, and as a result they feel weak. But this can be changed. The moment a man decides to take control, to stop wasting himself on meaningless indulgence, he begins to reclaim his power. This power is not just for personal benefit, it affects every aspect of a man's life. The man who controls himself becomes a better leader, a better thinker, a better creator. He approaches challenges with a clear mind, unburdened by distractions. He earns the respect of those around him not because he demands it, but because he embodies the very qualities that inspire respect. The disciplined man does not need to seek approval or validation. He does not need to chase after things that drain him. He is self-sufficient, focused, and full of purpose. He understands that every ounce of energy he retains and redirects is an investment in his own strength, his own success, his own destiny. There are two types of men: those who allow themselves to be ruled by their impulses, and those who rule over them. One is weak, easily influenced, constantly searching for something to fill the void he has created. The other is strong, focused, and in complete control of himself. The difference is not in talent, intelligence, or luck. It is in discipline. It is in the choice to guard one's energy, to channel it into something meaningful, to walk through life with power and purpose. Every man has this choice. Waste your energy and remain stagnant, or harness it and rise above. The path of self-control is not always easy, but it is the path of strength, confidence, and true power. The man who walks this path is unshaken, unstoppable, and free.